I don't know about some of y'all, but for me, I can never come back from psychosis. It completely changed my life forever. It changed me on a fundamental level. Everything about my life is completely different today. My goals are different. How I see myself is very different. How I present myself is different. How I interact with people is different. How I perceive the world is the biggest change because I can't unsee any of the things that happened, and I see the world through an entirely different lens now. Everything has changed, absolutely everything, and I just can't come back from that. Some things are just tainted, like they're covered in a coat of post-traumatic psychosis, I guess. Like, if I could call it anything, I suppose I'd call it like that, because it's pretty similar to PTSD. I think I do have PTSD from psychosis. And so things I used to enjoy they're just different to me. Like, I used to love Adventure Time, and when I watch it now, I can't see it the way I used to. Instead, I see the images I had in psychosis related to that show, or delusions related to that show, and especially the feelings associated with it, because I don't have hallucinations and delusions presently, but the feelings associated with it come to the surface every time I watch it, and it kind of puts me exactly back in that place of how it felt to be terrified watching like my favorite kids show. If I were to put it accurately, the way that it's changed my life to the degree that it has, like how it changed every single second of my day every day because I'm triggered by everything now, I would say that it's equivalent to, say, like a horrific burn or losing a limb. Like, definitely not as severe as that, but in the sense that this has damaged me in an irreparable way, and I will never be able to go back to the stability I had before. I wouldn't necessarily say stability, just the life I had before. Like, I'm more stable today than I used to be, but I'll still never recover the psyche that I lost. I lost a lot of memory, so I have short-term memory loss. My IQ has dropped. I still consider myself fairly intelligent, but I can't read the way I used to. I never quite got that reading comprehension back. So those are permanent brain injuries. But on top of that, I will always have this post-traumatic psychosis following me, and I will be triggered by things constantly that put me right back in the state of that debilitating fear I had in my episodes. Ultimately, what really gets me, what really cemented in my mind that I can never completely come back from that experience, is that my perception is different. It's completely changed. It's almost as if my brain restarted or rebooted, and now I have an entirely different person's brain. I think that's why I've changed so much, because my thinking and perceptions of the world have changed so much. I feel like I've seen like the gates of knowledge in Full Metal Alchemist, and if you've seen that show, basically they go to these gates of knowledge and they're given the truth, which is all of life's meaning and all of that. The questions to the universe are answered, and it completely changes them forever. They have to pay a toll. It's very traumatic to them, and I feel like I have had this shift in thinking where I see things that I didn't see before. Like, I see reality for like its quirks, its oddities. I see all of these abstract things that weren't there before that I'm now aware of because I had to go outside of my brain into a different reality to learn that the world operated in this entirely different way that I see now. How did I respond to these massive overhaul changes in my brain? Honestly, I just don't give a fuck about a lot of things anymore. I especially don't give a fuck about what people think of me. I wouldn't be making these vulnerable as hell videos on the internet if I gave a fuck about what people think of me the way I used to. I used to be very concerned about like trying to look plain. I used to look very plain and just have like not dyed hair, no piercings, no tattoos, none of that. And after this, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. So I started dressing however the fuck I wanted. Fuck, 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 fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. So what you see in front of you is nothing like how I used to present. I think that's just one obvious change that I've mentioned before in one of my videos, is that what I present to the world is an entirely different person, and it is a direct reflection of what has changed in my mind. This complete 180-degree massive change in what people see in me is proportionate to how 180-degree my mind went. Anyway, this is the new and improved C. This is C 5.0 because that's how many episodes it took for me to get to this version of myself. Life is so unexpected. This is not what I thought it would be. I never would have thought I'd ever have psychosis. I didn't even know what that was, but it's overhauled my life. So this is who I am today, and I owe this to psychosis as well as the recovery and all of the great people who picked me up out of that. Can someone please explain to me how going through psychosis, or rather coming out of psychosis, made me lose my ability to draw? Because I've been an artist for as long as I can remember, and for some reason, when I recover from episodes, I tend to regress greatly in my ability to draw. I don't really have any evidence of the stuff that I made in psychosis. I'm specifically referring to my worst episode because I lost the most cognitive ability from that episode. But I do have all of the sketchbooks that it took for me to work through for like over a year to get back to the level of art that I'd been at before. And there was a stark difference. This is the only picture I have of anything I made while psychotic, and I really wish I had this actual drawing. There's a lot of fluidity to the lines. It flows really nicely. Lots of great details. Her expression is so clear. It's a beautiful drawing and, just pretty simple for what it is. And then there's this concept for a character. I wanted to do a comic about dragon people, and this is Emily, and this was maybe 6 months after the episode, so 9 months after that other drawing. It was a huge difference. It's a lot stiffer. It's not as expressive. It was really forceful for me. It was not as fluid or easy to do as the other one, and the proportions are off, and it's lacking in expression. It was a lot harder to make. This hoodie is an example of my artistic ability coming out of psychosis. I made it for a camp out. I won the logo contest, and I made the design about 6 months, 7 months out of an episode, and it's not my best work. I'm proud of it in the sense that this was the best I could do coming out of an episode, but this is by no means my best. This is like what I would have made in middle school, honestly. I love it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it because it was the first piece of art I really made, but I'll show you what I mean by better. This shirt is for another event I did. It was a logo contest for a convention, and I made this a couple years after my most recent episode. So this one, I think it shows a bit more skill. It's a bit more refined. I'm not sure how easy it is to tell, but like that, that took more talent than what I had before. That was the product of practice and recovering from an episode. I never really lost my talent. I just had to get it back. So that was the level I could have if I hadn't gone through psychosis. It's interesting because my style hasn't really changed, but like features of it have. I've always been interested in portraiture and drawing people, and that's always been my thing. But the style has actually become a lot more calculated. There's a lot less like loosey-goosey freedom that I used to throw in with exaggerated features. It's actually so much more precise. I have a lot more control now. And I think that's because I literally spent a year drawing every single day, just faces over and over and over again, just faces, because that was what I did. That's what I was trying to relearn how to do. And I kind of shifted, I guess, creatively as a result. So recovering my artistic ability came along with, as I've said before, relearning how to read and relearning how to talk, things that come second nature to most people that I will never, ever take for granted again. So, gender and psychosis. How has psychosis affected my relationship with gender? It has absolutely obliterated it. I've had some pretty far out there experiences in psychosis, including having delusions of being other people, like entirely different people. And a lot of these people were they were male or female, but beyond that, they were alien, or they weren't even human. They were animals like dogs. I was a mermaid. I was even dead. And this has greatly affected how I perceive gender today. Before going psychotic, there was nothing to question. I never questioned my gender because I really didn't even think about it. I just kind of accepted that this is what I was born to be. I was born to be a woman. And I entered into like this place of having to question it, like having to question who I am at like my core level, like wondering who the fuck is this person that's got this brain in this body, because this is not who I thought I was. This is not at all the same person anymore. This person doesn't know up from down, let alone what the fuck gender they have. I have now come out of psychosis with experiences that I can never leave behind, having seen things that I can never unsee, having seen life in a way that I will never be able to look at any differently. And this includes having had different genders, and not just that, but like different, people and aliens and shit. Like having had the experience of being a guy and feeling that so viscerally and knowing with certainty that I was a guy, I can't really let go of that. I can't really unfeel that. And now every once in a while, I'll just pop into that feeling and be like, oh, okay, this is a very masculine energy. This reminds me of the time that I was that rock climber guy, Aaron Ralston, and it sticks into me all over again that I'm not who I was. And the person I am today is shaped by experiences like being a rock climber guy. So for me personally, I experience gender in a much more ambiguous and undefinable way than I did before. And I have no questions anymore. Like there's nothing to question, because for me, I don't even relate to gender anymore. Like it doesn't apply to me because of the experiences I've had. I just don't even have a gender anymore. Now, I know by all appearances that I am a cis female, and I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that I personally don't have a belief in gender. So I think gender is a construct. I understand that now. I've heard that before, people saying that gender is a construct, and I didn't quite know what that means. But now I have an absence of belief. There's like a black hole in my mind where the concept of gender used to be. And I think everyone else who identifies with a gender has a valid gender, but for me, I don't believe in my own gender. Like, I don't believe in gender. Now, this is very personal to me, and I'm not trying to impose my beliefs on anyone else, because this is what I believe of myself. And I do believe that people who are trans or non-binary or questioning, they have valid genders of their own because they at least believe in something. I just don't personally believe for myself. I used to identify as non-binary because I was kind of uncertain coming out of psychosis if I was female anymore, and I still kind of am. But I thought that this was a box I fit into. I felt like I could identify as non-binary because, I had characteristics. Like I didn't have this certainty that I was cis anymore, and I didn't think that I was trans. But the thing is, I feel that I was trying to fit myself into a box that wasn't even there. And by identifying with any gender at all, I was kind of forcing myself into playing a part in a game that I have no business playing. Now, I'm sure that's probably confusing to some people. It's very hard for me to even like conceptualize into words. But basically, there were things taken away in psychosis that I'll never get back, and gender was one of them, because the experiences I had wiped away whatever relationship I'd had with my own personal gender. So I do believe that gender applies to other people, but because of my experiences, it's been taken from me, and I just don't relate to that anymore.